afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Shelby Kinnaird, the National Program Lead for Diabetes Sisters. Before we dive into today's topic, I'd like to share a bit about Diabetes Sisters. We are a vibrant community dedicated to providing support, education, and advocacy for women living with diabetes and those at risk. Our organization offers a variety of resources, including peer support groups where women can share their experiences, challenges, and triumphs in managing diabetes. At Diabetes Sisters, we believe in the power of connection and the positive impact it has on our health and well-being. Today, we are excited to kick off our Diabetes Sisters Lifestyle Webinar Series, a platform designed to empower women with diabetes to live rich and fulfilling lives. Through this series, we aim to bring you the latest insights, strategies, and inspiration to support your journey with diabetes. Now, I am thrilled to introduce our distinguished speaker for today's webinar, Riva Greenberg. Riva is a globally recognized speaker, advocate, and author who has dedicated her life to helping people with diabetes flourish. With an impressive track record of living successfully with type 1 diabetes for over 5 decades, Riva has touched the lives of thousands through her Flourishing approach, which she has shared with health professionals and individuals worldwide. In today's session, Flourishing with Diabetes, Riva will guide us through understanding why the current treatment paradigm emphasizes coping over flourishing, and how we can shift our perspective to cultivate a life of thriving, not just surviving. She will share practical strategies, debunk common myths, and inspire us with her personal journey of resilience and empowerment. We welcome attendees to submit questions via the Q&A during the webinar, and we will save time at the end for Riva to respond. So, without further ado, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Riva Greenberg.
Thank you so much, Shelby. And thank you, Diabetes Sisters, for hosting this. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here, and I thank everyone who made the time to be here with us. So to kick off Diabetes Sisters Lifestyle Webinar Series, I'm not going to take any more time, and we're going to kick off this webinar right now. So there's something that happened to me in 2014 that I will never forget. And it's what you're looking at. I was in Bangalore doing some pro bono work for a diabetes clinic for the poor. And at this clinic, all the families in Bangalore were invited to come the first Sunday of the month, those who had children with diabetes. And they came for supplies and they came for education. And they were all on this Sunday in this room, about 100 parents and children. And what you're looking at is Dr. Shrikanta, who founded the clinic. And there are 3 of us sitting. I'm actually in the middle before my hair went gray. And what Dr. Shrikanta would do is he would invite every child up to the front of the room, and he would ask each one of them, what will you be when you grow up? Now, you may not think that's a big deal, but in a country where a lot of kids with diabetes didn't grow up, that was a big deal. And for me, that was a quintessential flourishing act. He planted the seeds of hope and possibility. And that's why I'll never forget it. So what do we mean by flourishing? Oh, I also want to mention the woman who's sitting in that picture with the dark hair, she was one of those children, and she's now a doctor at the clinic. So what do we mean by flourishing? Yes, it means to thrive. It also means to feel appreciation for what you have, to be loving and patient with yourself when times are tough. And flourishing is a lens on what's possible now. So, and a lens of no blame, no shame. So I want to tell you how we got to our conventional approach and what we can do to shift ourselves to flourishing. So during the Industrial and Scientific Revolution, we absorbed a lot of machine values into medicine. And so while they work great when you're on the factory floor They don't work great, really, for chronic conditions. So during the Industrial Revolution, we learned things like, because they were working with machines, what was prized was accuracy and perfection, standards and optimization. When a machine didn't work, it was broken, it was defective. Machines work cause and effect. Do this and that will happen. And that there is a sense of control, right? Machines are programmed to do something, they do it, or they're defective. And from the scientific revolution, we brought in the values of observe, measure, and test. I think anyone with diabetes is familiar with the idea of observe, measure, and test. And as I mentioned, this works really well for acute care. So if you have a broken arm or you're having microvalve surgery, these are pretty good values, but it doesn't work well for chronic care. And yet somehow that's where we ended up. So I want to show you, this is what our conventional treatment approach looks like. It's aimed to fix and repair. And a lot of these, what's centered around this curve are really the qualities of our conventional treatment approach. The idea that there's one expert, and that's the healthcare professional. And if you think back to the machine qualities, that's a sense of control. It's based on problem solving. So we look at what's defective, what's not working, and we aim to fix and repair it. There's also the idea that we are more disease-focused than person-focused. And that standards, the ADA, every year comes out with their new standards, and that we use best practices. But what that doesn't give room for is individualization and personalization. And I'm thinking as I go along, you can relate to a lot of these things. If you think about your visits with your health professionals, or if you're a health professional yourself, so much about diabetes is number centered, right? We're always looking at our blood sugar, our blood pressure, our blood cholesterol. And it doesn't leave a lot of room for context. What's going on in a person's life? The healthcare professional is typically the one who makes the treatment plan, usually not with a lot of input from the person with diabetes. Again, this element of control. And if you really think about it, the whole approach is fear-based. We're looking to avoid complications. And if we're looking to avoid something, then we're acting out of fear. And we can see when we look at these qualities that there's a lot of the machine thinking, like control and broken and fix, observe, measure, test, that came into our conventional approach. So forgive me, this is a picture of me when I think I was 3, but I think it really conveys that we are not machines, that we are in fact biological beings, biological organisms. And given that, what we really need when we're working with people who have a chronic condition like diabetes is a human approach. We talk about patient-centric, but I really think we need to be human-centric. And so if you look on the left of this slide, you see those machine values I went over. And if you look on the right, what's in red is really how humans operate. So we're not really so primed for accuracy. We really, in our human daily behavior, aim for satisfaction. We're not primed for optimization, but rather variety and flexibility and dealing with whatever emerges. We're not disabled, but as Andrew Sullivan, who's a writer on depression, calls it, we're differently abled. Our lives don't work cause and effect, typically. I do this, then that will happen sometimes, sometimes not, because we operate in a world of unpredictability and complexity. And while everyone, including me, wants control over everything, we don't have it. And so we're constantly sense making. We're seeing what happens and we learn to navigate it, to try something, to experiment. And so from looking at these qualities, how humans work, I ended up designing an approach I've called the Flourishing approach. And as Shelby said, I've shared it with more than 1,000 health professionals around the world. It is human-centered, and its aim is to create health. On the bottom of the slide in purple, you see what says salutogenesis. That is what causes health, right? Pathogenesis is focused on what causes disease. Salutogenesis is what causes health. How do people create health? Neurobiology, as I said, we're biological organisms. Complexity science, we live in a world of unpredictability and complexity. And SFBT, which stands for Solution Focused Brief Therapy. So those are the sciences that underlie the Flourishing approach. And I really want to make this statement. If you're a health professional, this is not to tell you you're doing it wrong. I offer this to you as a way to expand your repertoire, as a way to perhaps bring some things in that you hadn't thought to do, that you may find helpful and useful. So the qualities of the Flourishing approach are not about one expert, but two. Because I think everyone living with diabetes could say, I'm an expert on my diabetes. And the quality of this approach is relationship-centered. And I don't like to say patient-centered because it's truly built on the interaction between the two essential people here, the person living with diabetes and the health professional. And much of the interaction is based on open conversations to explore and see what emerges. So I have an example from that time I was in Bangalore at the diabetes clinic. I was actually teaching the medical staff this approach. And one morning, the dietitian came over to me. She was so excited. And she said, Riva, you won't believe it, but I did something you shared with us yesterday. So instead of telling my patient what to do, which is what I always do, I asked him what he wanted to do and what he thought he could do. And together we started brainstorming around that. And he said, and she said, everything changed. He started laughing. He came up with ideas for what he was going to do. And he just left and he's so excited. So let me tell you, if you're living with diabetes, this idea that this approach is relationship-centered falls on you too. You have a responsibility to share with your health professional what's going on for you and to be open and honest. Another fundamental is it's solution focused. So we want to look for what's working and build on it. If only 25% of your blood sugar numbers are on range, I would be more inspired if my health professional said to me, that's fantastic, Riva. 25% of your numbers are in range. How'd you do that? And then we start walking down a path of solutions and possibilities instead of, wow, 75% of your numbers are messed up here. What's the problem? So the approach is strengths-based. It's one of care and connection. It's whole person aware, because when you're there with your doctor, I bet a lot of us are nervous. What are we going to hear? And if we hear about a complication, our whole nervous system can shut down. So it's being mindful of that. And the focus is on what's wanted. So it's inspiring. People are moving toward what they want to have happen. So with that, I want to share with you. I also often mention, I consider this approach the heartware. Amid all the hardware that's out there, right? Bless the hardware. We have technology that's fantastic. But somehow we've overlooked this relationship at the office visit between clinician and person with diabetes. So for me, this is the missing hardware. With that, I want to share, these are some of my personal tips for flourishing, which I share. And you won't see healthy eating and exercise on the list, because I think that goes without saying. We all know how important that is. But I would say, learn everything you can. It's your diabetes. And there's new information coming out all the time. There's no reason you shouldn't be well informed. Don't ask your burning question when your hand's on the doorknob, which tends to happen, right? You might want to write down on a sheet of paper what you want to ask, what you want to talk about. Take that paper out right away. Have a diabetes friend. It's made a critical difference in my mind. And Diabetes Sisters, perfect. Your support group. So, and why I say, not your spouse, have a diabetes friend. They get it. When I have a bad day, my husband wants to comfort me, and he will always end up saying, I get it. And my knee-jerk reaction is, you don't get it. You can't get it. You don't have it. Don't say that to me. So much as he loves me, I know he can't get it in the way that somebody else with diabetes can. So I think that's really important. And I would say, since our nervous system is involved, I think with diabetes, you're always watching, right? When people joke it's a second job. And especially if you have type 1, you're hyper vigilant. You're always looking at your numbers. They say we make 220 decisions a day. What to eat, what not to eat. Do I take another mouthful? How will that affect my blood sugar? I plan to walk. I didn't walk. What does that mean? Your nervous system is stressed. Do something calming. Yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, meditation, breath work. Literally, even if you just take 2 minutes, sit quietly and close your eyes and breathe deeply. Makes a difference. And I will say, so does your attitude. I always like the expression Ginger Vieira once shared, which is, we are a work in progress. Yeah, we're not finished. So don't blame yourself. Don't shame yourself. No guilt. Don't beat yourself up. And, I get frustrated like everybody else. I don't want you to be under any misconception that I'm perfect by any means. And when I get frustrated, I grunt. I take a walk, typically. I may call a friend. I may watch a movie. I do something that lets me release the energy or distract me. And I also appreciate that I'm at an age right now where I've lost friends, actually not to diabetes, but to other conditions. And so I can be grateful for what I do have. And I often, when I'm doing a workshop, I ask the people there, Tell me one positive thing that diabetes has given you. And while sometimes I get funny looks, without doubt, everybody comes up with one positive thing. So I leave you with that question. What's one positive thing diabetes has given you? So I said, if you saw the video promo for this, that I was going to tell you a secret that holds back a lot of people from flourishing. And that secret is really a myth. And it's the myth that you can control blood sugar. And I would tell you that that myth has been in our language, in the diabetes world forever. And it's an outgrowth of this machine thinking of control. And it's what you hear from your doctor, and it's what you hear celebrities say on TV commercials. You cannot control your blood sugar. Control in the machine definition of accuracy and perfection. I cannot be 152 and decide that I'm just going to make it 102 in 20 minutes. I do not have that type of control. There are typically two things predominantly going on here. One is my neurobiology. Everything in my body is interacting and influencing my blood sugar, including my nervous system and stress. And the other, as I mentioned, is we live in an unpredictable world. I could plan to go take a walk, and so I take less insulin, and boom, it starts to rain and I don't go for that walk. So living in an unpredictable world, what happens when you get a steroid shot? If you've had one, you know. For 3 days, my blood sugar will go up, 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 up. And not only do I have to manage it not doing that, also I have to manage when it starts coming down so I don't go too low. And for those who think, oh, well, you have a CGM now, devices, you can control it. No, I get a lot more data now that I have a CGM, which is fantastic. But that data doesn't give me this magic ability to control my numbers. It just gives me better ability to influence them. So when I share this with health professionals, in fact, they agree. And they say, but Riva, we can't say this to people. We can't tell people they can't control their blood sugar. They'll be so depressed and feel, well, what can I do then? And yet that's so untrue, because when people know the truth, they feel relief. So last year, I was giving a presentation to adults with type 1 at Camp Najeta, and I was talking about this, that you can't control blood sugar. And this woman, Amy, actually sobbed spontaneously during the workshop. She said, I feel such relief that you just told me that. So please, I want you to understand, if you're a health professional, take control out of your language. It doesn't belong there. It's not true. It puts more burden on us living with this. What you can do to help you manage it is look for your patterns, right? If you have a CGM, great. You can look at your numbers an hour after, 2 hours after, as much as you want, to see how what you eat and exercise influences your blood sugar. You can navigate it back into range. And I would say with small experiments. So Dr. Richard Bernstein, who wrote The Diabetes Solution, fantastic book, says the law of small errors. If you're trying to bring your blood sugar up or down, take small steps. So, provided you're not severely low, maybe you could have one glucose tablet and then see where you are. And if you need another, you take another. But when you do what I used to do, which is like eat everything in the refrigerator, that really doesn't work. And always remember, you are responsible for your effort and not your outcome. So take yourself off the hook. And there's more to say about this, but for time, what I want to steer you to is in the Diabetes Sisters December newsletter, I wrote an article about the fact that you can't control blood sugar. So please go to the website and read it. It's great. And about 3 weeks ago, Diatribe, I also wrote a variation of this same idea, and Diatribe printed that. So you have 2 resources to go and look at to help for more clarity. I want to, before we do Q&A, leave you with this idea. So I was fortunate enough, I lived and worked in Japan for 6 years in the 80s. And one of the things I used to do with some friends was go visit Japanese potters once a month. So I love Japanese pottery. And I learned about this Japanese art, which is called kintsugi. So that when ceramics like this pot shatter, they don't throw it away. They fill it with gold. And that's what you're seeing. They fill the cracks with gold. And so what they're doing is they're actually making the pot stronger, more beautiful, and like a renewed entity. And truly, that's how I see living with diabetes. We are different now. But how you hold your diabetes, not as being defective or broken or disabled, differently abled, and you are renewed. You can be stronger, you can be more beautiful, have a healthier life, and you are capable of flourishing. Everyone with diabetes is capable of flourishing. And one of the most fundamental foundations of flourishing is asking yourself the question, what's possible now? So with that, I want to unshare my screen and hand this back to Shelby. And we are very happy, I am very happy, to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, we have about, let's see, it looks like about 7 questions. So I'll just go through them. The first one, Riva, can you say more about why we can't control blood sugar? My doctor keeps telling me that's what I need to do.
Yeah, so again, because of our biology and because we live in an unpredictable world, control in the idea of machine thinking is just not possible for us. And I think health professionals, they're swimming in the stew. They've been taught we can control it. They hear it from their colleagues. They don't even think about what they're actually saying and the burden they're putting on people who live with diabetes, in that when we realize we can't control it, as hard as we work at it, we end up feeling like we're failing. And again, go look at the Diabetes Sisters newsletter in December and the Diatribe article that came out over the last month.
Okay, next question from Livia. How do we deal with endocrinology teams who demand CGM data downloaded before an appointment, stare at the screen during an appointment, and ask database questions instead of asking the person with diabetes what they want?
Okay, that was about 5 questions. Can you feed that to me in shorter snippets?
Sure. How do we deal with endocrinology teams who demand CGM data downloaded before an appointment, stare at the screen during an appointment, and ask data-based questions instead of asking the person with diabetes what they want?
Yeah, okay, I'm going to be perfectly honest here. Tell them how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. You know, we still look at the doctor as the authority figure. Yes, they have all this medical expertise. That doesn't mean that they are expert at human interaction, you know, and you're half the equation there. So I know when I go to my endo, I don't download anything ahead of time. What happens is his assistant comes into the room with me. She downloads the data so that by the time he comes into the room, it's there for him. You could ask if that's possible. And yeah, and I would just say, you know, it's really hard for me to feel comfortable right now. It would help me if you could look at me when you're talking to me, you know, and I think if you say it nicely, they're not going to be offended. There was more to that question, Shelby.
I think you got it all.
Okay, I will also admit that I have fired doctors. If I have a doctor that I feel just can't do what I've asked them to do in that way, I just look for another doctor. I mean, there's no reason, provided you live in a vicinity where there are more health professionals available. You know, I've probably had 4 or 5 endos, and I haven't fired them all, but for one reason or another. And the one I have now, I adore. So there's no reason why you should have to suffer with someone you don't feel you relate to.
Makes sense. Okay, Christy wants to know, when I get bad numbers, I'm so frustrated. How do I get from that state of mind to flourishing?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you literally, take a breath, right? Take a breath and use it as a learning opportunity. Think, what might have caused this? I do this as much as I can. Of course, I hope I don't even have to tell you that bad is something we don't want to say, right? Numbers are numbers. I think about what might have caused that. And then I go, oh my God, you know, I had that half a bagel for lunch I wasn't intending to eat and I forgot to cover it. So you can often discover why you got the type of number you got. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's an utter mystery because your body's doing whatever it's doing. But it's an opportunity to see if you can learn something. Take a breath, and I will share with you. This is a very brief exercise. You can do it anytime. It's a somatic exercise for calming the nervous system. You could do it right now. Take your right hand and put it under your left armpit. Put your arm down, and then take your left hand and put it over your right shoulder. Close your eyes. And if you stay here for 30 or 60 seconds, you will notice that your whole body starts to relax. You could do this anytime. And remember the mantra, I'm responsible for my actions, but not my outcomes.
That's great advice. Okay, Fat Cat Anna made a couple of comments. The first one was, we are kintsugi. I love this, Riva. The second is, my positive bit out of having type 1 diabetes for so long, 58 years, is meeting other diabetics who get me, us. Thank you, Riva, for all this.
Thank you, Anna. That's terrific. And congratulations for 58 years.
Let's see. We have another question. I'm alone with my diabetes, but would love to find a D friend. How do I get started? I can answer that.
Please do, Shelby.
DiabetesSisters.org and join one of our monthly meetups. I'm sure you have other things to add though, Riva.
Well, no, I mean, that was going to be one of my first answers. And as you mentioned, for those who don't know, Diabetes Sisters runs several meetups a month. You can do it online and at your convenience. It's a wonderful way to meet other women who have diabetes. I've made some friends that way. And you can look and see if there are any diabetes classes at your local hospital. And there are other social media sites that you can look at. And, you know, it's funny, but once you take one step, it starts to snowball, right? One person leads you to another person. So just take that one step.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, Lita asks, Riva, this is my second opportunity to hear you speak. Thank you for sharing your messages. As a healthcare professional, I learn so much from you and my clients every day. I aim each day to take and share your messages in my daily work and interactions. Our words matter.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. I certainly appreciate the feedback. And I do believe, you know, for those who don't know, there's a movement in diabetes called hashtag language matters. And it's the idea of eradicating from some of the language we use, like we should no longer be talking about testing blood sugar because test makes you think you're passing or failing, but checking blood sugar or monitoring blood sugar, right? We've taken adherence and compliance out of diabetes language because that's really medical language. It was meant for doctors to talk to each other, not to talk about people with diabetes in front of us. And if I'm not wrong, I also believe that control is one of those words in the diabetes language matters movement that's been put on notice, shall we say.
Okay, we have time for just a few more. Let's see. Could you repeat the name of the book and author again?
Oh, it was probably Dr. Richard Bernstein. He's over 80 years old. He's one of the first type 1 diabetes advocate, and I believe the book is called I don't know. Ask the audience if anybody else knows the title of the book, because I want to get this exactly right. If anybody puts it in the chat, but if you just Google Dr. Richard Bernstein's books, it will come up. It's got to be his best-selling book.
Yeah, we'll include it in some notes we send out after this. So
yeah.
Let's see. Maureen asks, I love my insulin pump and CGM, but this therapy has significant burdens beyond cost, which is significant. How do you suggest bringing that up with your provider?
Well, it depends on what you want to accomplish. You know, I mean, if you just want to let them know that sometimes you just feel like you're burnt out because using a pump and a CGM is exhausting, you just share that with them. I'm often asked why I don't use a pump. I never have. I do use a CGM. And I just feel, as you rightly noted, there's a whole nother level of work that goes on to living with a pump. And because I'm fairly diligent and I don't mind shots, it's what I've done for so long, that I'm content to just use a CGM. But it's a very good point people don't think about. There's lots of work that comes with living with these devices. So there's that, as well as all the benefits that they offer.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we probably have time for 2 or 3 more. I'm actually succeeding because I have over 90% in range currently. I'm a very new diabetic and I'm able to stay home and be very, quote, controlling. I'm feeling so stuck and don't know what the next step is. Any tips?
So Shelby, what did you get out of that question? I'm not sure what's being asked.
I think, you know, comfortable staying home. They can control things when they stay home, but maybe they want to kind of get back out in the world again.
Yeah, well, I think actually that's a great question to ask your doctor. And, you know, I would just say baby steps. So go spend an afternoon out of the house and see what happens, right? It's all a learning process. So, I mean, it's great that you're 90% in range, but we also want people with diabetes to feel like they can have pretty normal lives. And that would not include not being able to leave the house. So maybe you needed that gestation period. And now it sounds like your time to go out and do a little experimenting.
Mhm.
Take your glucose tablets with you, or some, jelly beans or Smarties or Skittles, some form of sugar, should you go low. And yeah.
Okay. One more and then we'll wrap things up. My new endocrinologist is type 1 also, but hasn't even checked my feet for their sensation. How does one find another doctor? If you don't know other type 1s, how is a good doctor found in your area?
Well, as far as checking your feet, I would just say to him at your next visit, could you check my feet? I just want to make sure they're okay. As far as finding another doctor, again, a lot of it's word of mouth. I actually found my current endo by posting the question on Facebook. I
Wow.
said, who's in the New York area and loves their endo? And somebody responded, and that's how I found my endo. And again, well, you wouldn't ask your current endo, but if you have a GP, you could ask your GP.
Mm-hmm.
And even in your circle of friends, if they don't have diabetes, they may know somebody who does.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good advice. Well, I think that's all the questions we have time for today. Thank you all for joining us and actively participating in our Flourishing with Diabetes webinar. As we wrap up, I want to extend our heartfelt thanks to Riva for sharing her flourishing approach with us all. Her dedication to empowering individuals with diabetes is truly inspiring, and we are grateful for the opportunity to learn from her expertise. If you have any follow-up questions, or if there was anything we didn't answer during the Q&A session, and there were several we didn't get to, please don't hesitate to reach out. We will email you the recording in the next few days, along with the answers to any questions that we didn't get to answer. Remember, Diabetes Sisters is here for you, offering peer support groups, resources, and a community that understands and supports those on their diabetes journey. For more information, resources, or to connect with our community, please visit our website at DiabetesSisters.org. Thank you once again for your participation, and we look forward to seeing you at our future Diabetes Sisters Lifestyle Webinar Series events. Take care, stay empowered, and continue to flourish on your diabetes journey.